Hello guys, welcome to Jiggle Global Education. So today we start about what is an algorithm in Java. So from when you have an idea to when you want to code in Java. As you know, even in real life, any problem need design. Then after design, you try some step to that will be involved. Then later you try to solve it. Here is the same idea about the hands-on algorithm in Java, from your idea to the code. So from the first video we tried some introduction about algorithm, what is algorithm, what do we need them, and in the second video we try to talk about what is input and output for the algorithm, and we also see variable that will come and flow control in those kind of condition, like the if statement or what is exactly flow control. As you can see, we also see we learn about loops in a quick way by giving some plastics about it, as you can see here, and we talk about more pseudocode, which is very important in programming. Okay, so let's start by the first video that we talk relate to today's video, which will explain what exactly algorithm and why do we need algorithm. So welcome to our first video on hands-on algorithm in Java. So first, the objective of this introduction to algorithm is to understand what is exactly an algorithm. We can see the difference between an algorithm and a program, learn the basic step involved in algorithm design, how to write a simple pseudo code and implement it in Java. So what's an algorithm? It's very important notion in programming. If you want to become a good programmer, you have to understand the algorithm. This is what you call the logic of something. If I want to cook, there's a logic to cook. If I want to play football, anything I want to do, there's a logic, there's a step. What you call sometimes the input and the output. We have to get some input and get some output from the whole process. So we can define it as a well-defined sequence of steps to solve a problem. So you can see it can be any types of problem. So what are the steps involved in when we want to design an algorithm? First, we need to understand the problem, of course. Let's say we want to cook. So when we are cooking, we need to see what do you want to cook, the problem. We want to calculate the area of a rectangle. That is the problem. So then after that, we have to identify the input and output. What do we have as input? Like what do we know about the problem, about the case that we have? We have to identify the inputs that we have. After identify the inputs, we have to see what you want to get as a result that we call the output. For instance, the example of to calculate the area of rectangle, the output you want is the area. So this should be the answer. After we write our code, we should get the output that is the area of a rectangle. Same thing if you want to cook some omelets, for instance. So the output is the omelet that you want to cook. Okay, after that you plan the solution, use sometime what called the flow chart or pseudocode to design how from the input to the output, what are the links, what are those hook, is the method that can come, the function, anything that you have used. Okay, for instance, for cooking, maybe we have used some oils, we do this, we put it here, we mix it, then so on, as you can see. Then we can write the pseudocode which can check the logic of the step, and any good developer that reads the pseudocode, he can do it in any programming language, either in Java or in Python or any other programming language. So algorithm is a key for a developer. If you want to become a good developer or a good designer, you have to know exactly about algorithm. Okay, so let's see, for instance, one example now. If we want, let's say, a case study where we want to calculate, for instance, the area of an rectangle. So this is exactly now our problem. As you can see here, the problem, if we try to define it, we can clearly see that the problem we have in our case is what is to calculate the area of an rectangle, as you can see. So in this case, what do we need to do? First, what we can see, so after we know the problem, we say now we have to identify the input and output. So let's say we want to know our input. What are our input? As we know the formula of an rectangle. So we can say, okay, maybe we have the big side and small side, which we call the sometimes we note it as so as I say, we call them usually the length, for instance, that usually is a, as we call it as big, and the width that we can note as maybe this W, right? So these are the information we have about the input. So let's say now, what do we want is output. Then the output now is what? Is the area that, or you can say rectangle area for a rectangle area, which we can note as maybe RA, for instance, or just RA. So you see, we have designed the output. So for that, after that, we say we plan the solution, use flow or pseudocode. So let's say maybe the solution. Now we have to write, for instance, the formula that will help you to get the output. Now what is the flow? For instance, if you want to start the pseudocode, for instance, the logic can say, we can say begin. When we begin, for means say we start our algorithm, then what we need to know the value of this length and the width. So we have to read it. We say this is to read our and also we can read also the W. So this, to simplify, we can just say read these two values, as you can see here. Then after we read, what is the formula? So our formula of rectangle is what we give. You can say like this is an algorithm. This take, first you can say take the value of L times W, right? But this take, we can simplify it as a kind of arrow, as you can see here. For instance, you can say like this, that means this value is given by this. Then we can say after get, now we have to get our output, that we can just print the output, or sometimes we just say return the output, that is our IR. So to simplify, we can just say print the area of a rectangle. Then now our logic, or if you want the pseudocode is finished, we can say end of the pseudocode, as you can see here. Now we have designed a simple example about how can we compute the area of a rectangle. We have the pseudocode. Now this formula or this pseudocode, this logic, if you give it to any programmer, he can implement it either using any programming language like Java or Python, as you can see. Then now let's move to, for instance, the Java code. How can we do or transform, if you want, this is a Java code, as you can see. So to do this, as we know, let's say we start, for instance, we give, you want a class. Usually in Java we have to give a class. So let's do our public class, for instance, rectangle area, right? So we have create our class, as you can see here. So Then now, as we know in Java, if you want a print or something, some result, what do we need? We need a public class statement so that we can easily input print the result. So we need also the public static void main okay. So as you can see here, and don't worry, later we start using an IDEA, since now we want to understand how the code logic, how to design an algorithm. So this is the reason we use as the first video, where we use a welcome file to compile and run it without IDEA. So after 1, 2, 3 or 5 videos, you can start using an IDEA as NetBeans, IntelliJ or Eclipse. Okay, so here we have it. Then now when we say read, so we need now in Java to think which function or what do we need to call to read. As for the basic, we have in Java what we call the scanner to read any input. We just the very scanner, that is new scanner system.in. Okay, so this is in Java what we call if you want to read a value. So now in our case we want to read L and W, so we can write so that it can guide user, for instance, to type system out print, let's say it's a enter the length, for instance, for the length of the rectangle. This we ask the user to type the length of the rectangle. Okay, so here to get it, since usually length can be defined as a double, so we have the variable that is double length, which we give its variable length, so is a scanner dot next double. Okay, right. Then the same thing we do it for the width. So let's do also for the, we enter the second side, which is the width of the rectangle. Then we can say, if you want, we can also call just L, since in our pseudocode we call them L. So we can even say here, rather than length, we can just say L if you want. Okay, so but is okay. So here also we can write, for instance, I think it's even better to give them the weight, that is the value, and the length, since in our pseudocode we give this variable, so it can be more. Okay, then now we have the value of the width, so that now we have to declare, as we see, we print here is a this one. Now we transform it in Java. So in Java, if you want to transform this line, what we need to do, we need just to declare for double area, that is a rectangle area, is our L times wide, as you can see here. That is all. Then now we just need to print by calling the system out print dot print ln, as you can see here. Then we can say the area of rectangle is, we do the concatenate to get the value area, which we call RA, as you can see here. That is all for our program, and this, if you run it, it should work. But there's something in Java, when we call a class name, and if that class is not in java.lang, which we will see later, we need to import it. Then in this case we have to import our Java file util file scanner. So someone can say, okay, how do I know that this scanner is in this file? Okay, if assume that we don't know this one, so if you use the IDE of when you run it in our command prompt, which we'll do first, it will tell you this class is not recognized by the system or by the program, so it will guide you. Or in case it didn't guide you, you just need to copy this to do what you go in to the Java documentation to see how really this scanner works. So this is how we do to know how to import. By the IDE is easy. It can guide you easily. If it's IDE, then it will ask you to import it. Okay, so now let's try to save and try to compile this by a command prompt, and the next time we'll try to do it also on an IDE. Okay, so let's since this Java file, so in this case I have to delete all this or comment them, since it is not a Java code, so that I can run the file. So let's try to comment them. So as I say, we try to, okay, or we just copy this one, create another Java file. Let's copy it, then we create a new file, so we pass it, then we try to save it. And don't forget that when we do the compilation, we say that since we want to use the command line, we have to give the same name to the file. So if you want to save it, we have to give the same name .java. Okay, so that we can see it here. Then now we can try to call it in command line to see what we'll get. So if you want, we can go to our lab. If you remember, it was cd. You can go directly like this here. So I type cmd. So I'm here in the folder. Then now, if there's no syntax error, let's do Java C to compile. So compilation is correct, and we get our .class, as you can see here. Then after that, we can try to run it now. Dot without the dot. As you can, let me zoom it so that you can see. Okay, so then now you see he enters the length of the rectangle. Let's, for instance, we put 5. Just then the width of the rectangle we put 2. Okay, so as you can see, we get 5 times 2, that is 10. That is all. And here we can give a space so that it will be more nice. Because of this one, we have not give some space. As you can see here, we can give some spaces. Then, but we need also to compile so that this number, as you can see here, will not be close to the rectangle. If you want, we can save and do it again. Let's see it. So in this case, we need to delete the compile file since it's ready, and compile again. So let's compile again. So we have our rectangle, we compile. Okay, then we have also our Java comment. So now you see there is a space. If you put, let's now this time put 7 and 5 for instance, then we get our response. So that is, you see, from a problem you design a pseudocode, then you write the corresponding Java code. Thank you, and don't forget to like and share my video. Thank you, and see you for the next video.